As tensions in Minneapolis run high, there's another shooting there tonight involving ICE agents. Everything we know.
We're under a KREM 2 weather impact alert for another round of patchy dense fog tomorrow.
It's amazing for our destination.
Spokane gets some time in the soccer spotlight as the Seattle Sounders announce they're coming to town. We'll tell you why and what this means for the Lilac City. Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News. I'm Sydney Schofield. We do have breaking news tonight. Another shooting involving ICE in Minneapolis just hours ago. Officials say ICE agents were trying to arrest a man allegedly from Venezuela when they say the man assaulted an agent with a shovel, trying to hit the agent's head. An agent then opened fire, shooting the man in the leg. The man fled back into a home where he and 3 others barricaded themselves inside. Officers eventually breached the home and say all individuals inside were taken into custody. Now the police chief says there's unrest at the scene.
There's a crowd gathered in the area, and we have called for mutual aid from the Minnesota State Patrol and Hennepin County Sheriff. The crowd is engaging in unlawful acts. They have thrown fireworks at police officers, and at multiple times gas has been deployed. Police are attempting to disperse this unlawful assembly at this time. I urge anyone that is at the scene to leave immediately. This is already a very tense situation, and we do not need this to escalate any further.
Now, both the ICE officer struck and the man who was shot were taken to the hospital. We know the man is expected to survive, but we're still waiting to learn more about the officer's condition. We will continue to track this story and bring you the very latest details as they come in. Minneapolis, Eastern Washington Representative Michael Baumgartner addressed last week's ICE shooting in Minneapolis during a virtual media availability earlier today. We want to note the press conference was held to address the recent funding he helped secure in the House for several infrastructure and water projects in Eastern Washington. But our Mark Hanrahan spoke with him about last week's shooting involving ICE as well.
We had a good appropriations bill last week on water issues.
From his office in Washington, D.C., Eastern Washington Congressman Michael Baumgartner addressed funding Congress appropriated for 6 projects in Eastern Washington, including nearly $2 million to upgrade the Adams County Jail, another $1 million for improvements to a wastewater treatment plant in the city of Palouse, and 4 other projects.
These water projects in particular, I feel very strongly about for our small towns.
The bills now head to the Senate. We also asked the congressman about the events in Minneapolis this week, the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer, and whether he thinks it should be investigated or probed in a congressional hearing.
So it should be investigated. Obviously, it's a tragedy when anybody gets killed, but, from what I've seen, it looks like a justified shooting in me in defense of the law enforcement officer. But again, I do want to see it investigated and get those facts out. And responsible public officials should do better than they've done, particularly in our state, just to respond to a politically charged environment.
When asked about DHS Secretary Kristi Noem calling Renee Good a domestic terrorist, Baumgartner had this to say.
I would like to refrain from making those kind of comments until there's an investigation, and I know more.
Now, the congressman also discussed Venezuela, banning members of Congress from selling individual stocks, and much more. You can watch the full unedited version right now on KREM 2+. We now go to our other top story tonight. We remain in a weather impact alert. As you can see, this is a live look at downtown, and you can see a lot of fog from this view, and we're seeing it all over the place. In fact, I know on break for a lot of us, it was hard for us to kind of get back to work because visibility is so low in some spots. Let's send things to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo in the Outdoor Weather Center. And Jeremy, we're bracing for more of this fog.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Dense fog across much of the region with temperatures down below freezing. Our saving grace with this round of freezing fog is that everything has been so warm lately that it's finding a tough time sticking to the ground or sidewalks this go round. Visibility down to about a mile in downtown, 1/10 of a mile out in Airway Heights, and close to that across much of northeastern Washington and North Idaho. Widespread, though, our fog and freezing fog advisories continue to pop up across the region as fog grows more widespread. Tomorrow morning, we are waking up to visibility down below a quarter of a mile and likely even more widespread dense fog advisories. It'll stay that way. Notice noon, we start to get a couple of breaks in it. Just because it starts to break, I do not believe means that we see the sun. Instead, I think we're stuck under low clouds all day long, very much so like what we did today. Temperatures down near freezing or below freezing to start the day tomorrow, back up above freezing by tomorrow afternoon, but barely. 36 is what we did today and likely what we do tomorrow before we catch a break in the clouds Friday and hit the 40s by Saturday.
Well, tonight we're learning more about a potential grant from the Department of Justice that could help Spokane hire more police officers. However, the money comes with conditions that concern some city leaders. One of the main concerns revolves around one condition that requires police departments to turn over immigration status records to the federal government.
It just goes on. And so that's my concern, is I don't believe we've been given a valid legal analysis, nor have we been told the liabilities that we may be incurring as a body, knowingly accepting money that we know we cannot uphold the conditions upon.
Jay says if the grant is accepted but the conditions are not followed, the city may have the money taken away or be required to pay it back. Council is expected to make their decision tomorrow morning. We'll be following this story and we'll tell you what they decide. Time for your Night Beat with a quick look at today's top stories. A woman accused of abusing and killing her adopted daughter pleaded guilty today to several charges. 34-year-old Mandy Miller admitted to killing 8-year-old Mila in December of 2022. She and her boyfriend were arrested in South Dakota after driving the girl's body around in a U-Haul trailer. Miller pleaded guilty to 4 counts, including homicide by abuse, assault, and unlawful imprisonment. 3 of the 4 charges come with a domestic violence enhancement. She faces a stiffer sentence because of that. Her boyfriend already took a plea deal. Miller is set to be sentenced on February 6th. A former Bothell City Council member is now facing more than a decade behind bars after admitting to killing a young woman he was romantically involved with. Prosecutors say 58-year-old James McNeil pleaded guilty to killing 20-year-old Lilia Gajboronsky in spring of 2024.
We wanted some clear accountability here that would bring a long sentence, and ultimately the low end of the range for murder 2 for this defendant was 10 years. And now the high end that we're asking for manslaughter is also 10 years. And so this saves the family having to go through the trial.
Now tonight, McNeil sits in the King County Jail. Next month, a judge will decide exactly how many years he'll spend behind bars. We have an update on the scraps situation regarding the parvo cases plaguing the shelter. They remain closed as 5 more dogs tested positive for the infection between Thursday and Sunday. The total parvo outbreak since December 30th is now up to 10 dogs. Officials say the dogs are doing well. They're currently getting treatment and indoor isolation until the parvo symptoms end. They advise people not to bring dogs to scraps unless it's an emergency. That's it for your Night Beat. For more on any of these stories, head to our website, KREM.com. All right, don't go to bed just yet. White House officials met with the foreign ministers of Denmark and Greenland today after Trump doubled down on his aim to take over Greenland. We've got the latest there coming up. But first, Spokane will be getting some time in the spotlight by Seattle soccer matches are going to take place right here in the Lilac City. That's coming up in just 90 seconds.